Hi everybody, we are moving on to learning targets 3, 4, and 5, so we got a whole lot of stuff going on here, and we are going to figure out how to do all of these, so here we go. Alright, these are the formulas you are given. So it looks like we're given quite a lot actually. The only thing you need to be really careful about is this capital B. That capital B stands for something that you need to realize. It stands for area of the base. That's a big deal. You need to know that. You need to remember that, because if you just think it's base, you're going to be finding the area of something, not the volume. So capital B stands for area of the base. All right, so let's talk about what that means a little bit. So for general prisms, it's capital BH. So again, that B stands for area of the base. So for the prism on the left, the triangular prism, it would be 1/2 base times height. That's of the triangle on the bottom. And then that other height is actually the height of the object here. So that what's in parentheses, that's just the green triangle on the bottom. This height is almost like the depth of the object. So it's this piece here. So I know that there's 2 H's. If you want to change one of them to a D for depth, that's helpful for some people. You just want to be careful. Or you might want to write like triangle on the top, and then, you know, the height is of the pyramid, or the prism, excuse me. So same thing over here. This is a rectangular prism, so it's base times height of that rectangular prism, and then the other H is the height or the depth of the prism. And then if I give you any object, it's simply the area of the base, so the area of the hexagon times the height. So if you ever get something like that, you could just find the area of the base using whatever methods we've done before, and then you multiply it by the depth of the object. Again, think depth for height. And that's what I meant by that. You can just put a D there instead. Okay, so find the volume. So again, we're doing area of the base times the height. Area of the base would be 11 times 2 with the way that I have it written. And again, if we think of that H as depth, 7 is the depth of the object. You also could have seen it as a rectangular prism with this as the base and then the depth being 2. You're still going to get the same answer, so it's okay. Sometimes people see these things a little bit differently. Find the volume. Now we have to pay close attention. This is a triangular prism. So again, area of the base would be 1/2 base times height. You know it's a triangular prism because prisms always have the same top and bottom. And you might be thinking, well, this is the left and the right, not the top and the bottom. But basically, like, think about like a Pringles can. It's a cylinder, I know, but it's going to make sense. If you flip that cylinder on its side, the top and bottom are still circles. You just flipped it on its side. So this prism is just flipped on its side. That's all. So we have 1/2 base times height, which is 3 times 4, because remember, the base and the height are always perpendicular. And then that depth would be 10. This 5 is useless. Sometimes they give us more dimensions than we need, and that's no big deal. So we have 60 centimeters cubed. Volume is always cubed because it's 3 dimensions. Okay, now this is a pyramid. We know it's a pyramid because it comes to a point on the top. Okay, area of the base. Remember, capital B stands for area of the base. So this would be 1/3. That's coming from the volume formula. Area of the base is base times height. So that would be 10 times 12. And then from there, we go 10, which is the depth of the object right here. Okay. And you get 400 centimeters cubed. All right, so again, we need to find the volume. So I'm doing 1/3, and then it's 1/2 base times height because this is a triangular pyramid. Because if you notice, the base of this one is a triangle. So I'm going to do 1/3, and then that half is from the triangle formula because a triangle's area is 1/2 base times height. So this 1/3 is coming from the volume formula. This 1/2 is because this is a triangle. So I substitute my values in, and boom, 64 miles cubed. That's a whole lot of miles. I just want to remind you that because it's a pyramid, it comes to a point, and just so you know, that point's called an apex, just if you wanted to know. Find the volume. So now we have a cylinder. So for a cylinder, they give us our formula. There's no tricks to it at all, and we simply plug values in. So it's pi r squared. We need to remember that 7 is the radius, 14 is, when it's written like this, it's indicating that that's the whole length of the diameter. And boom, we're done. And again, if you decide to approximate it, you would then type the pi number using the button on your calculator. Never approximate that to 3.14. Use the button on your calculator. and you get that answer. Cone is going to work the same way. It's simply plugging in the numbers. So 1/3 pi r, so 3, not 6, and then 7 is your height. So there it is. All right, so this is a sphere, and a sphere formula is given to you. You just have to plug in. So it's 4/3 pi r cubed, and we just substitute the value in, and boom, we have an answer. So those ones are a little nicer. Okay, now if you would get a composite shape, which just means a shape put on top of another shape, you have a cylinder on top, a cone on top, a cylinder on the bottom. So those are the two shapes you should see. So we need to find the volume of each of those shapes. So I have a cone and a cylinder. And then I just substitute the values in. So I'm doing volume 1/3 pi r squared times the height of the cone. And then I'm doing pi r, which is 3 squared, and then times the height of the cylinder. I'm finding them, I'm adding them together, and there's my answer. Here, this is like a prism going through. It's kind of hard to show that on this, but this is like a hole being cut out. So I need to find the volume of the cylinder, and then I need to find the volume of that rectangular prism, and I need to subtract them. So again, I'm just substituting values in. If 10 is the diameter down there, I know that the radius is 5 and the height of the cylinder is 6. For this one, I just want to point out, notice that this is the same height as the cylinder. So this 6 is going to work as the depth of this prism as well. So that's just 2 times 3 times 6, and that's 36. So 150 pi minus 36, and then that you would approximate in your calculator most likely, but you could have left it as 150 pi minus 36 if I didn't specify, or the question didn't specify. Okay, we're going to work backwards now. So given a sphere with volume 582 and 6/10 centimeters cubed, what is its radius? So again, we have this formula. Don't be like, oh my goodness, I'm so confused. No, you have volume this time. You're looking for the radius. You guys have done this in algebra countless times. You're just looking for a different variable. So go through it. We're going to divide by 4/3, which is the same thing as multiplying by 3/4, but your calculator can do it for you if that part scares you. So you just type it in like this to your calculator, and it should look like that. So then I bring that down, and I also have to divide by pi. Again, I'm using the pi button on my calculator. Down there, that's where the pi button is. Okay, so we have pi, and I get this ugly decimal, which makes sense, it should be. Now this part you gotta be careful with. How do I get rid of a cube? Well, just like if that was squared and you take the square root of both sides, there's such a thing as the cubed root, and that's again a button on the calculator. It's located right on top of, so if you hit control and then this caret button, that's where you can do that. So when you hit that button, this will pop up, and it has a little box above the square root that you're used to, and you can type the number 3 in there. So now you have the cubed root. Then if you scroll here and then scroll up and you highlight this, it will copy that entire number right there. You can also hit control, I think it's negative. Let's go back to the calculator. You can hit control negative, and it says ANS up there. That's for answer. So you can also do that to get that value, to just substitute in there so you're not typing it in. And then it's never rounding, it's keeping that exact value. So you get the 5.1811634, yada, 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 yada. And wherever I tell you to round is what you do. I didn't, so we leave the whole decimal. Given a rectangular prism with length 8, width 6, and volume 432 inches cubed, what is its height? So again, it's a rectangular prism, so that's base times height, so 8 times 6. I don't know the height or the depth of the object, but I do know that the volume is 432, so I work backwards to find the height. It's not too difficult, but I just wanted to point it out. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in class.